List to live by. The professions of men you should not date. I broke my own rules. Before you read this, a caveat. I'm attracted to all these types of people, and in large part have dated them or married them. Number 1. Musician. The idea that someone gets off on tricking you is just fucked up. I dated a guy in college who loved scaring me. He would hide behind the door and pop out just as I entered the room. Of course, it freaked me out. But then I would get mad. He would giggle and I just wanted to punch him so badly. I didn't because I don't have a strong fist. But musicians have the similar desire all the time. To be clear, I love the idea of music and the beauty and artistry around it. But the desire to trick people and never let them in on how you put it off, that seems to me like a person who will never fully reveal himself to you. I don't mind musicians as people, but in the realm of dating, the tendency to trick is very confusing to me. Number 2. Musician. Here's my theory of musicians. When you have an audience of more than 10,000 people worshipping you, how do you go home to your partner at night and be like, "So how was your day?" There's got to be an intoxicating head rush when you look into a sea of fans and know that you could have sex with any of them, no matter their gender preference. After that, can you ever be satisfied with anything less? Plenty of musicians don't achieve that level of success. I know. But even unsuccessful musicians are looking for that kind of attention. People who follow their creative passions are fascinating, but also complicated, and they all have a tricky combination of narcissism and insecurity. The one thing that keeps some actors in check is that the crew is not laughing at their dumb jokes. The key grip is checking his phone and rolling his eyes, and he just wants to go home at the end of the workday. When you ad-lib a joke, the boom operator, who has undoubtedly worked with much bigger stars than you, is probably thinking, "What a narcissist," and you feel that, and it's humbling. But being a musician on a large stage, how do you separate yourself from the rocksterdomness of being a rockstar? So don't date musicians except maybe a classic one. Second chair oboe. I would stay away from the first chair, and definitely not a conductor. Number 3. Doctor. My experience dating doctors has been that they've pretty much been dicks. Also, I have never dated a doctor. Plus, I saw that Alec Baldwin and Nicole Kidman movie. What was it called? Malice? The one where she's complaining to her husband, played by Bill Pullman, that I hate our new neighbor. But of course, she's screwing him because he's got a total God complex. That seemed realistic enough. Number 4. Athlete. Not necessarily because they cheat, which I know is what you're thinking, but because if they're getting older, or there's a new recruit, or they have massive injuries, you have to spend a lot of time stroking their ego. Honey, don't worry about Brock. I'm sure he'll tear his ACL tooth. After a bad game, you have to be so emotionally supportive, and exhaustion will just burn you out. Plus, during the season, what are they going to have left to give you? Number 5. Chef. I know it sounds like a good idea. They'll cook for you. I get it. That's what I call the chef trap. Don't fall for it. As someone who has dated a chef 0 times, I can tell you that the culture of the kitchen may not translate to relationships. It's hot and incredibly stressful. And as I know from experience watching Hell's Kitchen, temper is encouraged. If someone has a hot temper at work, I just don't think they can avoid bringing it home. And he probably gets home at 3:30 in the morning. Number 6. Therapist. I haven't been to much therapy at all. It terrifies me. Growing up, my parents were of the belief that if a person is in therapy, there was true validation that they had a mental illness. But in LA, you're the person with the mental illness if you are not in therapy. So I went once, and the therapist asked me where I see myself in 10 years. I'd like to live in Northern California in a house with a lot of land and plants, and maybe an amphitheater to put on a plays, I said. He responded, "Do you realize that in that explanation you didn't mention your son once?" I wanted to throw something at him. That's why I want to go there, Dick. To be with my son and give him everything I wanted as a kid. And would you ever say that to a man? Question his commitment to fatherhood because he's focused on himself in therapy? After that, I was therapy-less for years because it made me so furious. If you date a therapist, I imagine their silent judgment at home. Your therapist boyfriend dissecting the meaning underlying everything you say or do. And who wants to date someone who's going to be analyzing them all the time? Number 7. Actor. We all just need so much praise. I know I do, and male actors are the same way. Still, I can't help but be attracted to them. And I know many men have actresses on their don't date list too. Of my 4 serious relationships, 2 of the men, so not a great percentage, told me their mom said they should never date an actress. Hearing it for the first time was jarring. After the second, it was like, is this really a thing? I wasn't even successful yet. I was doing local Seattle theater, and I wasn't all that dramatic of a person. I just wanted men not to cheat on me. Basically, the only profession you can or should date is a woodworker, or a guy who makes sports. Like Kevin Costner in Message in a Bottle, someone who is brooding but carves wood all day, making something gorgeous with his hands, where he ruminates on lost love and finding new love and stormy seas.